Hi, hello, hi, and welcome to all our hearts and minds. Thank you again for tuning in. We're here to discuss all things that have been on our hearts and minds, the good, the bad, the concerning, and uplifting, or just straight talk. We're your hosts, Kimmy, our passionate heart,
Yeah.
and then there's me, Jeanette, our mind and chronic overthinker. Let's get into it.
Yes.
We're back and with a new episode, and just wanted to start off things at the top with a check-in and a checkup. How are you doing, Kimmy?
I'm doing okay. I'm doing better than I was last week. I can say that much. This cough is just so annoying and it just won't leave me alone. But for the most part, I'm doing okay. I can't complain. In terms of work, it was a work week. I mean,
It was a weird week, yeah.
I got through it. That's the point. Um, but overall, I'm doing all right. Family's okay. Can't complain. Christmas is around the bend, so that's a whole nother sin tin to worry
Oh
about,
gosh, yeah.
right? But overall, all right. But how about you? How you doing?
I'm pretty good. It's end of the month, going into December, and I feel all right. I would say, typical feelings of getting into the reflective stage of, okay, this is this year, and
Mm-hmm.
what's up, or what do I want for next year, type of thinking. But
Right?
other than that, all's well, all good in the hood.
Right. That's a good thing. Thank
Yeah.
goodness.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
exactly, exactly. Sometimes things may not be how you want them, but it's also not the end of the world. So
Right? Right?
so yeah. Okay, that's good. I'm glad to hear you're getting better. It's tough. I know you're getting over the cold.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
thing with the cold,
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna feel better. Right?
Yeah. Well,
Eventually.
right? Exactly. Rest up.
Okay, so let's jump into the headlines. And
Mm-hmm.
so some interesting things going on this week. One of the things that we're going to cover first, because it's been all over the news this week. I mean, it's been rumblings for it for a while, but the tariffs, Trump and the tariffs that he's planning on putting on international
Trump, Trump,
countries.
Trump. Ay, boy.
Um, yeah, so Canada, Mexico, he has been threatening this for a while, but this week he put a number on it,
Yeah.
and he said a Monday evening earlier this week that his plan is to put a 25% tariff on all products entering the country from Canada and Mexico from January 20th of next year. Unless those countries curb the flow of drugs and migrants across their borders. And okay, fine. That's just ridiculous in the first place. But like,
Right.
here's why it's ridiculous, because he's putting on the fact that Canada is bringing in allowing drugs and illegal aliens to invade the U.S. when those illegal aliens are generally coming in through the U.S. It's not it's where if we were to look at a certain quote unquote illegal aliens,
Right.
we're in a place where up north is like up north, it's not even inhabitable. People aren't coming from up north.
Yeah. Uh,
People are coming from down south.
where the
And
glaciers? Like they're coming from the flipping glaciers? Like stop this, Trump! Like I can't with
right.
him.
And
Well,
like, we know that, like, listen, drugs, fentanyl, specifically fentanyl, is a
mhm.
problem everywhere. It's not a problem just in
It's
Canada.
global.
It's a
It's
global issue.
literally global.
Yeah, and to be honest, everybody's blaming Mexico. Well, Mexico is the closest country to this side of the world, but if you were to do your research on fentanyl, it is a man-made drug that is getting very much distributed globally through Asia.
Okay.
So anybody can do
Mhm.
their research and look into that. That's not what we're here to talk about. But it's just ridiculous that Trump is blaming the issue of illegal immigration and illegal drugs in the US on Canada of all places. Yes, Canada has, especially on the West Coast, an issue with drugs, particularly fentanyl. But trust me, if we were to look at the volume of where fentanyl is coming from, I don't think it's Canada. I don't know. I mean,
Well,
I don't
from
think it's
what I'm
likely.
hearing, the
Mhm.
problem actually originates from the U.S.
Mhm.
because they are smuggling it over the Canadian border.
Mhm.
So that's what I've heard. I mean, obviously, we don't live out in the West Coast; we're on the East
Mhm.
Coast, so we don't. per se know how it's coming in.
No, nobody.
From what I've heard, it's actually coming being smuggled from the U.S. into Canada, and in Canada we're a little bit more. I don't want to say liberal with drugs because we're
Yeah,
not,
it's
but
yeah,
we're more accepting of people who are on drugs. And
exactly.
so we're willing to, stand up for our, people who are on drugs and helping them and getting them into better situations instead of just trying to
That
isolate them off into a corner. That doesn't make it doesn't work, right? And so the one thing I want to say about Trump is that he has a lot of talk. This man can run his flipping mouth. You understand what I'm telling you? But when he actually sits down and he sees that this is not, in the long term, it will not be lucrative for the United States. It won't. Not long term. Maybe short term, yes, okay, I can see him making a pretty penny. But when you're talking about import and export, and a lot of your you are exporting more than you are import. No, you are importing more than you are exporting. I think you need to, like maybe check your facts before you start throwing out tariff numbers and percentages and stuff, because it doesn't, in the long term, it will not help the states because they export too much, right? So, or sorry, they import too much from everywhere else into their country. A lot of things are not made in the US. So when you start throwing around these numbers with tariffs and stuff like that, you got to be very particular. You got to be very careful. Okay? And so Trump talks a lot of shit, but when he's actually there in the negotiations, he will then see how this will not affect the US economy the way that he thinks it will. It won't be a good thing for a long term, right? So I just, but anyway, Canada is up in arms right now. Parliament is going crazy. Everybody is up in arms. Everybody's like, listen, we have to have a plan. We got a plan against this damn freak. What the hell is he saying?
Mhm.
Everybody's up in arms. So um, I could see Canada coming up with an alternative to what Donald Trump has said. He talks a lot of shit. He does talk a lot of shit, but it's what actually ends up happening that we should
Yeah,
pay attention to, you know?
exactly. Because when he was elected last, this was also something he was trying to implement, or at least or heavier tariffs, or he was trying to implement something similar, maybe not this high, but definitely trying to increase import taxes on Canada. And they were able to negotiate, between our government and their government, and kind of squash that. And I think on both sides, like in terms of just the general American economy and the pressure from like American business people and the Canadian government, I think there will be a negotiation. Maybe they don't go away. Maybe it
I
does.
can see there being a raise, but not
Yeah,
25%.
exactly. That's what I'm saying. I think it won't go
Okay?
away, but it won't be 25%.
No,
Either.
and when you're talking about them type of tariffs, right? Like you have to understand everybody's watching what you're doing.
Mhm.
So internationally, places like China and India that you export a lot from, okay? Um they're watching to see how you're going to deal with Canada and Mexico. So while you're throwing out all these numbers and stuff, people are listening. People are watching. And I think, you know, um, Trump, he's a great performer.
Yeah.
Okay, he can perform and cause havoc wherever he goes. However, the realism behind it, that's a different conversation.
Yeah.
So in terms of an economy, I understand he thinks that just upping the tariffs is going to help the American people, and it might slightly for the right now, but not for the long term. It's not it just won't work. It just won't work. So we'll see how that pans out. But I will say that everybody up here in Canada, all the parties, because we have our own little situations up here. Okay, like yes, I understand that we're right beside the states and they kind of dominate in certain realms, but we have our own politics and our own problems up here. And I'm just saying, Trudeau, It don't look good for you, my friend. It don't look good. You better come up with something quick. You better figure out a plan quick, because there's people, the NDP party, everybody is up in your ass, boy. Everybody's up in your ass, and they're waiting to see, and this will not be good for the upcoming election here in Canada. So Trudeau, you better tread lightly, my friend. You better find a plan. You better negotiate. You better do whatever the hell you need to do. I'm telling you, because people will vote your ass out if you don't move correct with this tariff stuff. These big companies up here that have been lining your pocket with money. Yeah. Oh, okay. You better come up with a plan. That's all I gotta say to Trudeau. You better come up with a plan real quick. So
Yeah. So we'll see how that goes. I personally don't think, aside from Canada's side, I don't think corporations in America are going to allow that to happen. So we'll see how that goes for both countries. So we'll move on to Club Shay Shay, one
Shay
of
Shay.
one of our favorite,
Mm-hmm.
the person Shannon Sharp becoming one of the more beloved internet interviewers or podcast. I don't know if it's a yeah, I guess
Yes,
it's a
Shannon
podcast.
Sharp is the modern day Oprah, yeah? Because, like, for real, Oprah, she did this same thing. She had everybody and their mother on her show. You understand what I'm saying? And every time I turn around, Club Shay Shay, yes, everybody on there, you
hmm
know.
Well, before, when they were trying to call him that, I was like, come on now. But after the year that he's had, I am totally comfortable with him getting that that
It,
title.
I don't know, it feels very, it's
It's not a
reminded
stretch.
me.
It's not a stretch anymore.
No, it's not. This reminds me of Oprah's show, like, for real, for real.
Um,
But it's a little better because Oprah wasn't asking stupid ass questions. He's actually letting the people talk. You know what I mean? And we're getting a lot of detail and a lot of information about these celebrities that go on his show. So,
yeah.
um,
So
yeah,
she came over. Keke Palmer is promoting a book right now. So she's been doing a lot of podcasts and interviews and stuff like that. She's been more around than she normally is because Kiki stays getting a bag.
right?
So she has a book that is being that she released called "Master of Me: The Secrets of Controlling Your Narrative."
Mhm.
Very timely, very interesting. And of course, like all of Club Shay Shay's interviews, not all, but most of his interviews, I generally will at least look at a clip. Even if it's somebody I don't know or somebody I'm not particularly aware of,
Mm-hmm.
I'll still check it out, just to support the channel or whatever. But of course, Kiki, she's like one of my faves. So
Yeah, right.
I watched all the clips. I did everything but watch the full 2 hour interview, which I probably eventually will. But I kind of feel like I saw like at least 60% of the interview through the clips,
Mm-hmm.
and one thing about Kiki, she's funny, she's reflective, she's self-aware, and that's always makes for me personally makes great for a interview. So a couple of things that stood out for me. First of all, she cracked a joke on him when they were talking about he was asking her about something, and she turned it back around on him and said, "Isn't that what Michelle was saying to you?" Or
Right?
something?
That
That
part.
was she. So
I
everybody
said,
knows
Kiki, I can't
she
with
went
you.
in. I was like, damn, he wasn't even ready for that. He had to
No,
fall out.
he was
He
so
fell out.
thrown off by that. And I think he was thrown off by that because it came from her.
Yeah.
And the moment was so perfect. I was like,
Yeah, it was
Kiki?
perfect. I was like, the timing on that one, I was like, shoo. It was like like she literally gave her a layup for that joke.
What?
I don't even
And
remember
dunk. Like,
I don't even
honestly.
remember what he said to her, but so
It
anyway,
wasn't even important.
no.
After she made that joke, I was like,
Yeah.
what the hell did he even say? Who cares? At this point, Kiki, you're funny as hell. Like, I can't with you. Okay? That was so perfect. I was like, was this planned? But then you could see it wasn't planned because it took him off guard. Like, totally off guard. He had to laugh at himself.
Yeah.
He had to. It was like that was perfect. I can't even lie. Like that was perfect. That
Mhm.
was good. Yep. Kiki.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, my laptop's doing something funny, so we'll see how long you can hear me for. So yeah, so that joke, and everybody knows that was a reference to that supposed accidental live that he had when he was
Yeah,
being
whatever.
intimate with
Hmm.
whoever. So okay, so yeah, little minor technical difficulty there, but yeah. So what I was saying after the Michelle joke, which I loved, she was. Wait, before I go on to my next thing that stood out to me, what did you think about her outfit? Everybody was roasting her for that top. I'm like, it's a cool top, but it probably wasn't good for a sit down interview.
Yeah, that was like more couture, like
Yes.
walking on the
Mm,
catwalk kind of thing, or
mm-hmm.
at a fashion show. Um, yeah, I didn't like it. I thought it just swallowed her up a
It
little
was too
bit too
distracting.
much.
It was too
It
distracting
was
for.
too distracting. And she has such a, charismatic personality, and it
Mm.
was just kind of frumpy on her, that makes sense. Like,
I think it's just because you're sitting. It's not something you wear to sit down. Like
no,
that's something you stand up and showcase the art of
yeah.
the top. But it was taking away. It was very distracting. We're talking
Like,
about
it
these.
looked like she was at like something prior.
Oh, oh, that would make sense. I
You know what I'm
guess.
saying? Like, she was at something prior that would have been worn to, but it's like I didn't got a chance to change.
Yeah, but then in
So,
the same breath, celebrities are very intentional of how they put themselves together for certain things. So that's possible in real life, but I don't see her going on something where she knows millions of people are going to watch and not tailoring her outfit to the situation. Maybe I think to your point, I think she really did think that was an appropriate outfit for this
yeah,
interview,
for just sitting down and chatting. Like, I
which
just found
now that
like
I see it, like no, it
we're
wasn't.
not at a fashion show. Like, this is not a fashion show or runway of any kind. It's too poofy. And, she's a very petite woman. So it's like, no. It just took too much of away from her, if that
Yeah.
makes sense,
No, I get. I was like, on one hand, I'm like, the people were going in on it, but I'm like, can you guys calm down? But I was like, it is literally distracting considering how good the interview. Like, she was really talking about some deep and personal things. So I'm like, but it was just so. I could admit that it was distracting. Like, I do think people were going in a little too much, but it was distracting. I can give them that.
Right?
So another thing that she talked about that was interesting is Shay Shay asks her about all the documentaries that they've been doing with Nickelodeon and all the child stars, right?
Mm-hmm.
As well as referencing some video that I didn't see the video, but some video Justin Bieber did where he's like protect Billie Eilish at all costs.
Right?
And so he kind of led that question, and Kiki came in, and I think when he asked that question, that was a follow up of her discussing her being the breadwinner for her family and
Yeah.
some of the challenges that she faced being in that position. And
Right.
so
Yeah.
that was a follow up. So she was kind of emotional going into it. And I think anybody who I think by now, I would hope that most people know that being a child star is not glamorous. If anything, it opens you up to a lot of negative things outside of maybe fame. And,
Mm-hmm.
you'll get some money for your family, that's for sure, but it's not a wealth that lasts. We've seen that with many stars.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, yes, you get paid very well for a child, and obviously you can change your family's life if they're smart. But most of the time, we see that once the show ends or once they grow out of the child quote unquote child,
Uh-huh.
90% of them disappear, and like that, like they kind of have to
Or they
figure out.
have real problems, like real, you know, some problems that are irreversible. Like, if you
Yes.
look at the Olsen twins, for instance.
Yeah, but I consider the Olsen twins a success in that they turned something that could have been, like, I get what you're saying, like they obviously still have some lifelong trauma because they're clearly anorexic, but
That, and they look like they're 90. Like,
and
Jesus.
they
These are
yeah.
young, vibrant women, but you would think that they are old, frumpy. Like, I, when I look at them, I
Yep.
can see how Hollywood really messed them up. And what's his McCulkin? Look, like, there's not one child star that I know of that has grown up to have a very um, uh, organic type of adult life.
No, it's not possible.
It's
That's
very seldom, and that's why Kiki is one of those people who, well, she hasn't ever stopped working.
yeah.
That's
So
one
that's
thing that I think is a key, is that
I well
don't ever
here's
stop working.
here's what I'll say. Well, where I was going with this is that yes, but I think any child star that has gotten through addiction and is still alive has beat the curse. But there's a whole that's a whole another topic and discussion for another thing. But for her, I think she did acknowledge that, yes, you see me here, and
Mhm.
I'm happy, and I'm happy that I had the only reason that I'm here like how I am is that my parents protected me. They were to the point almost overprotective, to the point where she lost opportunities because her parents were so protective of her. But
Yeah.
in the end of the day, in the long run, as we can see that she's living a half decent life and seems to be at least some type of, she's doing, from what we could see, she's managing all right. We never know what goes on in the dark, but she seems to do, compared to her some of her people who other child stars, she's done okay. And so she did say, you have to stay true to what your beliefs are. There's lots of people who are gonna try and
Mhm.
influence, and that's easy to happen in Hollywood. Like, everybody influence, everybody saying you have to do this, you have to do that. But you kind of have to stay true to what's true to your heart, your beliefs, whatever that happens to be, whatever that framework is for you, right? And that's where I kind of feel like the parents plays a role, because as a young person, you don't really have any beliefs or frameworks other outside of what your parents teach you, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, so that was like another poignant thing that she said. And then I think finally the last thing I was going to mention about the interview for me is she talked about when she was on set with Ice Cube, and she did a movie with him. I can't remember what movie it was that they did together. It was a while back. She was at 14, she was like 13, 14 at the time. And she said that when I was on that movie, he was very standoffish. She didn't talk very much, and I just, I'm like, hey, I'm just here to do a movie, do my time, and go. But he
Right.
must have pulled her aside and called her to his office one time and said, I just want to tell you, Kiki, you're a beautiful young lady, and I see how kind you are and how nice you are to everybody on set. But I want you to know that you're growing up into a young woman, and a lot of times the way people see you, the way these men see you on set, it's not the way you see yourself. So protect yourself, be careful,
Mhm.
and don't let them take advantage of you. Know who you are and what you have, so people don't use it against you. And
Right.
she says that advice, and she says, I haven't talked to him much, but, and she acknowledges and she thanks him for it. But it's like, if you look at her career, she's kind of walked that line, right?
Right.
And it was, I feel like that literally encapsulate how she's kind of handled herself from a child to a teenager to a young
Yeah.
woman. But anyway, what you're gonna say?
Well, okay, so when I saw, because I did watch the entire
Okay, yeah.
uh, show with
Hmm.
Kiki, and first of all, she's so captivating.
Yeah, she's
Like,
engaging.
honestly, she really is. She had me in a chokehold for a second, because she had me going up and down in this interview. Like, I felt like I was on an emotional roller coaster. There
Hmm.
was times where I was sad for her, and then there was times where I was like, well, she's broke generational curses kind of thing. Like,
Hmm.
I was proud of her. So it was a great interview overall for me. There's a few things that I did want to mention that I found very interesting, and one of them was her mother and her family dynamic.
Yeah.
Her parents protected her in this industry. Like, they must have been like hovering over her like vultures. They had to have been, because she appears as though she has come out of this industry unscathed.
Hmm.
And so I kudos to her family, and she acknowledges her family and their contributions, and how she was able to pretty much set her family up from here on out, and um there was a part that I felt sad for her, where it was like her childhood. She's like, being in Hollywood,
Yeah.
Hollywood is not set up for children.
Mhm,
It's
mhm,
not set up for children. It's not set up for you to be a part of Hollywood.
mhm.
um and so that's probably where a lot of other child actors and stars had a hard time, because Hollywood is just not set up for children.
So you can't be a
um
child.
you
You can't.
just it even though there's children in movies and da 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 da, they're just not set up for children.
On
And
set, they're not children.
well, well, you're acting as a child,
That's what I mean.
right?
On set, as on set, you're not a child.
Well, she
You're
was
playing
saying
a child.
Hollywood in general. Like,
Yeah.
I'm 9 years old. What am I doing at an industry party?
Yeah.
I'm not. It's not set up for children. Like the behind the scenes is not set up for children.
Hmm.
Even on set, you should be in school. You should be at recess, not practicing lines, not saying the same scene 15, 20 times. You know, it's
Hmm.
just so she acknowledged how, Hollywood is not really meant for children. It's meant for adults, really.
Hmm.
And children kind of just, find their way throughout the industry. Lastly, she was hilarious as shit. Like, oh my gosh, Kiki, I knew you were funny. I always knew you were funny. But when you bust that joke on Uncle Shay Shay, I said, Kiki, you can listen. You can be amongst the best of them, okay? Because she held her own in that interview.
Hmm.
Um, and she was able to even loosen up Shay Shay.
Oh
Like
yeah.
he was loose, like he had to take a one two extra drink. You know what I mean? Like it was nice to see that dynamic. It almost looked like Shay Shay was her older brother,
Hmm.
or her uncle that she's just kicking it with. Like it
Hmm.
felt very familiar. Like they're very
Yeah.
familiar with each other,
Yeah.
which was nice. But Kiki, it was nice that you addressed Trey Songz.
Yeah.
You handled that like a true woman. Uh, it was nice that you were able to address other issues that is going on in your life, such as your baby daddy and things, just slightly.
Hmm.
I liked it.
Yeah.
Club Shay Shay, you are the new Oprah for me. I don't care what nobody tells me. This is the new Oprah for me, okay? Because I'm actually getting to learn about a lot of stars that I've always wondered about, and he's doing great interviews with people, all walks of life, you know all walks of life. And so I really do appreciate that. So it was nice to see it overall. But let's move on, because Kiki, you doing good in these streets. We know you doing good. Okay, you just need to settle it down with your baby father. I don't know what's going on there. I don't know, but we'll see what's going on. We'll see. But in the meantime, let's move on from Miss Kiki
Okay,
Palmer.
so we're going to so yeah, Nick Cannon was people were talking about Nick Cannon online this week because he shared in a couple of interviews his narcissistic personality disorder diagnosis.
Hmm.
And and for me it was like, duh, I didn't need nobody to tell
Right.
me like what. But I guess he was psychologically, or like,
Evaluated.
he was diagnosed by a
Uh,
doctor. And like, for those who have been watching his life for the past 6 7 years, we've been knew that. But he's now coming out and saying that on People magazine. He said it, where he told the interviewer that he'd been diagnosed. But he's been diagnosed with some other things too, which I want to bring that up. But he says,
hmm
I still don't understand it all the way, but I've kind of always wanted to get tested for it. I did a bunch of tests. That's what he told People magazine. I've been diagnosed with ADHD. Even as a kid, it was dyslexia. But just knowing that I'm just a neurodivergent individual, I kind of always knew. Yeah, that was kind of obvious. Um,
Right.
and then he
Hmm.
also says that he's coming to trying his best to come to terms with the diagnosis. I feel like there's so many labels out there, but it's like to be able to embrace it and say, look, I'm healing, I need help, show me. I just embrace mental health and therapy in such a strong way. That's when he was talking to People magazine a couple weeks ago or something like that. But um he also was on, he's the one he had a notorious interview with Dr. Cheyenne Bryant as well, before she went and met
Cam
Feather
Newton.
Cam Newton, Featherhat, Mr. Featherhat. And So that was one of the things. She never said anything. She just wanted him to question some of his choices. She never outright said that about him.
Yeah.
And I think as a doctor, she knows like you can't diagnose. It's not your place to diagnose somebody if you're not doing it. If you're not doing an official diagnosis session, so she
Mhm.
never does that. But when she went on his show called uh he went on his show with Doctor. It's called oh, it was on his episode earlier this month. I thought it was her show. Anyway, his show Council Culture, and he reveals it to her on that episode, his diagnosis, and they kind of have a little bit of a back and forth
Mhm.
about how he feels about it. And he says that the two things of a narcissistic behavior, that traits that he doesn't have, that he's happy he doesn't have, is a rage. He says, you have like a rage with people, and as well as a lack of empathy. And that's what
Mm.
he says he doesn't. I think he's still like, when you kind of negotiate yourself out of a diagnosis or a
Yeah, that's exactly what he's doing. Yeah.
yeah. But I heard an interesting take. I'm gonna I want to ask you, and then you can let me know what your thoughts are on this. But the take was that in revealing this, and him going public and revealing this, all these diagnoses like NPD and ADHD and everything in between,
Uh-huh.
it's kind of like, oh, you kind of want to use this as a crutch for your bad behavior. So that interview comes out, and you start to, and and it's kind of like whittled down, and we leave that interview that he initially has with Dr. Bryant thinking like, okay, you like low, because he's trying to say he's a high value, and we come out that he's a low functional. He's attracted to low. He admits, actually, he finally admits on the show out of his mouth that he's attracted to low functional women, right?
Mhm.
And so it's like now, and then he doesn't come out looking good. I think he thought, even with the whole having a bunch of children by a lot of women, I think he thought that was like some type of thing that he would be like revered for. And yes, don't get me
Mhm.
wrong, there are some men out there who are like, go Nick. But most people are kind of look at him, are side eyeing him, right? And I think this is
Yeah.
kind of like a kind of a crutch to say, see, I'm neurodivergent. I'm not like, I'm not like, I have a problem, and so this is my little thing.
Mhm.
That was somebody's take, and I feel like there's a little bit something there.
Right. Right.
What do you think?
Okay. So first of all, I have steady had my foot on Nick Cannon's
Yeah,
neck
you have, yeah.
from the very beginning, because I knew this is exactly what was going on. And you can put a fancy label on it if you like to, but at the end of the day, you are very narcissistic, very, very narcissistic from the very beginning. Now, in terms of the take, here's my take on Nick Cannon altogether,
Hmm.
okay? And it kind of coincides with what they've said. He got together with Mariah Carey. Mariah Carey was a larger fan than a larger
Oh, he admitted that he couldn't handle that.
famous person
Mhm,
than he was.
mhm,
And on top of that, Mariah Carey expected him to step into the role of being a man.
mhm.
And I think at the time, Nick Cannon was still evolving into being a man.
Yeah.
And I think he lost some of himself in that relationship. And, at the time, everybody was very surprised that Mariah Carey decided to marry Nick Cannon.
Yeah, it
Of
was
all
crazy.
people, Nick
That
Cannon,
that was crazy.
really?
That was crazy.
It was crazy. It was crazy. Everybody was like, "You went and found the biggest dork that you could find in Hollywood and married him." Like, for real? That's how people were feeling. And so I think for the duration of their marriage, he had to prove himself. And he had to be in this constant state of trying to prove himself to any and everybody, right? Including Mariah. And I think when I say he lost a piece of himself, he never found it. And he's been trying desperately to be a man in his idea of what a man should be, or he has to like really put out this idea to the world that I'm strong and I'm a man and look at me, I can have all these children and miss me with it. Oh, Nick, miss me with it. Okay, I see it as clear as day. From when you left that relationship, okay, you've been trying to find that young man ever since. And so time has gone on. You've had children, you became a father. Mariah gave him his first two kids.
Mhm.
Okay? So this whole idea of being able to procreate was what I think he held on to as his identity. That I am man and I can procreate. And then here come the whole damn football flapping team that he had, back to back to back to back. Like every other month, there was a child being born that was his. So I think he's been desperately since then trying to find out who he really is. And I think he got lost in the sauce. And I think that everything that he was doing was very narcissistic. Very narcissistic. You can't have four kids all born within the same flipping month. The hell? It miss me with your empathetic. You don't seem to think you lack empathy. How do you walk away from one broken home to create another one and another one and another one? There's no empathy there, at least not for the people that are being affected. So I don't know if you maybe you need to really sit down with another psychologist with that diagnosis and see what you're missing, because I think you do have traits of lack of empathy. Now, with the diagnosis in general, I think that he wants to have an excuse for his behavior. So I agree 100% with what that the take on this is that he wants to have an excuse for his behavior. And
Mhm.
he wants to continue the behavior. And he wants to be able to write it off. Well, this is why I'm doing XYZ. So don't be mad at me, public, because, oh, now I have narcissistic personality disorder. So I know I'm having another basketball team, for 2025, but, just ignore it because I have, you know, narcissistic personality. Like, miss me with it. You're only coming out to tell the world about it because you want to use it as an excuse. Most people who are really curious about their psychological stance and state are not running to the world to say, hey, I'm a little crazy. Like, no. People who really are concerned about their mental health and their mental state are not doing this. He is trying to make an excuse. Don't fall for it, people. Because I wouldn't be surprised if he has a baby announcement coming up just now. I wouldn't be surprised if we hear of him, having another five, six kids in a month, back to back to back. Like, I wouldn't be surprised. And then he's going to draw on this. Now, when it comes to him being able to deal with his diagnoses, um, I think you need to do that out of the spotlight. So if you really want to find the different tools in order to function with this diagnosis, then I think you need to step away from the spotlight and actually do that. You know, um, and I think that this is a good topic that has been opened up. That a lot of men out here, like Cam Newton, don't seem to think they're doing anything wrong, right?
Mhm.
And it's nice to know that your head leader, Nick Cannon, okay, can call it out and say, listen, there's something wrong with me. There's something wrong with me. And at least hopefully that will start the right conversation for all these other men who are doing this shenanigans. So that's my take on it. Nick Cannon doesn't do anything without the public involved, which I find to be a telltale sign of who
Mm.
he really is.
Mhm. Mhm.
So everything always has to be on blast. And I feel like it started when he was married to Mariah. And it's never really gotten any better since then, to be quite honest. So anyway, Nick Cannon, you must figure out what the hell you need to do. But if you're really serious about this, can you take everybody out of the group chat, please? That's all I'm saying. Go get yourself well. You know what I mean? Like, we'll be here. You know what I'm saying? Like, go get yourself well for real, for real. And hopefully he does that. You know.
Okay. Um. Yeah. And Nick is an interesting case, but at least the first step is admitting you have a problem. Even though although for me it seems a little bit narcissistic and how he's using this diagnosis, it's still at least to say that you're like, okay, what I'm doing is not normal. That's a big step. Okay, so we're gonna move on to Bronny James.
Bronny,
And supposedly, like last time we talked about Bronny, it was because the Lakers were sending him to the G League, supposedly, to play in LA's G League. And then I think it has now switched again, that he said he like he's I think they called him back to the Lakers, from my understanding. So he barely, I don't even know if he played. But they were saying, anyway, there was this thing where Charles Barkley, of course Charles Barkley, the biggest mouth in the world
right?
when it
Can't
comes
hush
to
up, man.
commentating on the NBA. But he says that the Lakers and LeBron James, they've handled it awful. I thought it was a great little ceremony for his first game, but this kid is not ready to play in the NBA. So that was, the criticization of Bronny, and he should be in the G League so he can play basketball. He's not getting any better sitting on the bench. This thing where he's only going to play home games is stupid. It's not fair to him. It's not fair to the team. Can you imagine the coach of that team? And so essentially, yeah, so they called him back to the Lakers, but he's on the bench because he's supposedly injured. And I was telling Kim about this. This is a mess because it's like,
A whole mess.
this is a whole
Yeah.
mess. From fine, the Lakers, under whatever pressure you drafted Bronny. Fine, you do that. Bronny's on the bench. Sorry, Bronny's there. He's just coming off the bench for a few minutes at a time, doing his little reps. And you say, okay, based on practice, what they're seeing, we decide that he goes to the League to develop. Not more than a month later, all of a sudden
Right.
he's being called back to the Lakers, and he's not doing much on the Lakers. So it's like, what are we doing here? Granted, the news is that he's injured, and so that's why we haven't seen him play. And they also say that while he's on the G League, while he was on the G League, he got preferential treatment because he
Of
only
course he
had to.
did.
Right? That's like obvious, duh. Yeah, everybody who's speculating, duh. But it's like, yeah, because he was only playing the home games,
Mm-hmm.
and that sparked the debate with Charles Barkley and everything that's been kind of going on behind the scenes with this whole situation. But I think the minute they sent him to the G League, they should have just let him at least stay there for 6 months, because I don't think it was a full 2 months that he since we've heard the news that he was going to the G League,
Mm-hmm.
where I'm hearing that he's back on the Lakers bench. He's on the bench doing nothing.
Right. Yeah. Uh-huh. Listen, I don't know what everybody's panties are in or not. This is black nepotism. Okay? This is nepotism. This is what nepotism is. This is what happens. Right? He's going to get preferential treatment. They're going to send him away to the G camp to try to, you know, at least have an excuse for his, not playing, and, or, well, we're trying to get him better. And this is nepotism. Listen, LeBron didn't work so hard for nothing. We're
That's
seeing the
true.
fruits of his labor. I'm
Oh,
sorry. I don't
you
know
know
what
what I just
everybody expecting.
you know what I just read? I did because I wasn't get understanding this. Because so it says the rookie, he played on the NBA. He played for the Lakers November 10th against Raptors. He didn't record any stats. Okay, he's been splitting his time between the Lakers and the G League, the South Bay Lakers. Okay, that's why it wasn't making sense, because I'm like, how can he be So he's playing games with both leagues, which I've never heard of. I don't. Is that a thing? I never.
No, it's
I
not. This is why
So
I'm
again,
saying
the preferential
this is
treatment.
nepotism. Like,
Yeah.
it's just so funny because when nepotism is happening for any other race, we kind of are desensitized to it. Like,
Yeah.
we just let
We're
it
just like,
happen,
yeah, Uma
right?
Thurman's daughter is gonna star in a movie, of course.
Uh, uh, right?
Mhm.
Cindy Crawford's daughter's gonna run down. She's gonna walk down the road. Like, this is what it is. This is what it is, right? But everybody is up in arms about Bronny because he is actually taking the spot of somebody who actually can play ball. I
Mhm.
said to you, I said, why is he playing ball? This is what I don't understand. Let's put all this shit aside. This boy has a heart condition. Why is he on any league of any kind? I don't understand this. Like, I'm so blown away that the focus is not on this young man's health. He should not be playing basketball. He should not be playing basketball, especially in a professional arena. What the hell? He had a heart condition. This young man could drop down dead. Like, do we understand this? Does anybody really care about Bronny's health? Because his parents don't seem to care. And I'm gonna put that out there. And I know that might not be a popular opinion, but if your child has a heart defect, why is he playing a sport that will require his heart? Like, it blows my mind that he's even in the league. It blows my mind that they even have him on the G League at all. Are you not worried about your son's health? He has to find a different way to be a part of the NBA. Sorry. I don't think he should be playing at all. Because one thing I don't want to see is this young man drop down on the court. That's what I don't want to see. Right? So while everybody's talking about, the experience that he's having and it being, kind of catered towards him and his nepotism, of course it is. The simple fact that he's playing basketball at all, is blowing my mind. But the fact that we don't expect that LeBron is going to pull every stop for his son is also blowing my mind. And why are we not, like, I just don't understand why is anybody having anything to say when it comes to Bronny? All these news stations and news reporters and this, that, and the third are up in arms. Oh, he's not ready for the league. He shouldn't even be in the league, period, at all. Okay? And the fact that he is, right? Of course he's going to get top treatment. Of course. This is LeBron's son. I don't know what the goal is. I don't know
Mhm.
what the goal is to have LeBron son on the Lakers, period. I don't know what they're trying to achieve. I don't know if it's a publicity thing. But what
Mhm.
I do know is that this young man should not be playing this type of a sport at all. And the fact that he is, we should automatically expect that his father is going to look out for him and his father is going to get him special treatment in the G League. I've never heard of a player doing both. Never heard of one
Mhm.
before. The
Yeah.
fact that you have to go to the G League at all shows that you're not ready to play on the court.
Yeah. That's what I'm
So,
saying.
right? So the fact that he's going in between the two of them, it shows nepotism, right? And I think we need to start familiarizing ourselves with what black nepotism looks like. This is it. So let it go on through until it run dry, because it will run dry. He is not prepared. He was 55th pick. I don't know how else we have to say this for everybody. He didn't even make the top 20. Uh, Now, if we took nepotism out of the equation, would he be anywhere?
No, he'd be
No.
in he'd be lucky if he would be in college where he could finish. Mhm.
Where I think maybe he should be.
Yeah, exactly.
That's where he should be. There's different ways to be a part of the league. He doesn't have to be, you know, the frontline worker on the court, you know? Maybe he could do other moves for his father. Maybe if he had some more education, He could be his father's manager. You, I'm just saying the possibilities of him being a part of the league in a different way is still there, but I think they're holding on desperately to the fact of him playing with LeBron
Yeah,
on
I
the
think
Lakers,
that was the marketing, is to get
right?
them.
And they're
That's the
holding
story.
on tight to that marketing, boy.
Mm-hmm.
They're holding on tight to that idea, and it's sad because I have to wonder to myself, does Bronny even really? And even if he did, can his body handle it? Do we really want to test it out? Like, I don't know. I know if it was my son, I'd say, sorry, son, you're not going to the NBA. That doesn't mean you can't play ball. You're just not going to the NBA. Your life is more important. At least that's what I think. So, I'm going to stay watching with LeBron and his son, but I don't know why everybody is so surprised that this is happening. Yeah. You think LeBron worked hard for nothing?
Hmm.
Nah, man. He wants to see
And
his son
I want
succeed.
to say something controversial. And I don't know if we said this when we first brought up the fact that Bronny was drafted, but you know what? What LeBron has done and achieved and put into and being the face, he literally is the face of the modern NBA.
Yeah.
Yeah, he can pull those strings. Sorry, he's put in the sweat equity. What's the problem?
Like,
What's the problem here?
what's the problem? When we saw Northwest on
Oh,
performing in Lion King,
did you see?
okay?
Did you see her new video?
No, I didn't because I haven't. But like, Lion King? Are you serious? Lion King the musical has been around before the child was even born.
Mhm,
Okay, but she had her ass up on the stage. She could barely damn sing,
mhm.
but she was there. So it's like I just don't understand. Like, what's the problem with when black people use nepotism? Like, it's a big, everybody's up in arms. Like, this is what this looks like. Relax, people. Right now. And I know Hassan said,
Mm.
but hey, I hope that Bronny, he does well sitting on the bench. Because that's where he's gonna be, you know. Um I agree with a lot of sports, newscasters when they say he's not ready.
Yeah.
And he's not. But they're pulling him in. They're pulling him in and they're making this happen, whether it is to happen or not. They're making it happen. So I think we should all just sit back and just watch and see how this plays out.
Yep,
But
exactly. All right. Well, hoping that Bronny's okay, and I don't have a I don't have a problem with it. I just want them to be less obvious. Like how is he playing on both? Like, I do think he should just put in his time on the G League and just call a buck, give it 6 months and come back. But to your point, this is all a about the look right now. It's
it
not necessarily
is.
about Bronny alone as an individual player. It's about the look of a legacy. And so that's what we're witnessing, to be honest. Okay. So last week we're gonna jump into some music news we had. There's a lot of music news happening, but we're just gonna focus on the big bomb
Mm-hmm.
that was dropped last weekend. Sorry,
Right?
last Friday, and that's Kendrick releasing his album GNX last Friday at noon, I believe. It dropped in the middle of the day, and the internet was ablaze, of course, because anytime Kendrick drops, especially with the year that he just had, of course,
Right?
there's going to be a lot of buzz. And so anyway, in our workout, we're going to be talking about the dun 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 lawsuit.
Right?
But yeah, just as we're gonna focus on the art. And I think I've been very obvious on this podcast that I'm a very big fan of Kendrick Lamar's albums. I think the only one that I don't really go back to is the more recent one before this one, which was Mr. Morel. the Mr.
Mhm.
Morale at Steppers album, and that's because it was just too much trauma. There was just too much trauma going on that. It's one of those things. I appreciate it for the art of it, the lyricism, the topic, the storytelling, but it's a little like I'm trying to bring my mood up. 90% of the time when I'm listening to music, I want it to be not too much of a downer, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's the only reason why Mr. Morale is I didn't go back to that very often. So now, anyway, we're talking about GNX right now. He released it. And some people were hinting that he was probably going to release sometime this year. Some people there's lots of speculation with this album. I mean, I get it. He is kind of mysterious, so I get
Yeah.
why. There's like all this like speculation that needs to happen, but so supposedly people looked at the metadata's the data on behind an album where well, you can kind of see like the writing credits and all the data on the actual digital signature of the music. And in that, it was revealed that GNX says CD1.
Mhm.
So that is the hint that there's going to be another CD, and people think it's either going to come out mid. Trust me, I've seen some theories online. I'm like, damn, y'all are doing all this. I
Right.
mean, I appreciate it because it gives me something to talk about it. But damn, that's a lot of thinking power going into this.
Right.
So they're saying either mid December, based on the codes dropped in the album, the coded raps and lyrics,
Mhm.
or some people are speculating just before the Super Bowl, which would make sense, sometime in Black History Month. Which there's two reasons why. That's the month of the Grammys, that's the Super Bowl, and it's Black History Month. That is something Kendrick would very likely do, so that is also realistic. So the track everybody is talking about,
Mhm.
and GNX. So I will just first start with the opening track where it's called let me get my Spotify up because I had it up so I could see it. Now everybody knows I use Spotify. Womp womp. Well, Spotify is my stream of choice. So anyway, it's called Whacked Out Merrills.
Mhm.
And but you could but it's like funny, you could be like a play on words because whacked out murals, like murals, like people's like art on a wall, but then it could
Mhm.
be whacked out morals. That's kind of the way, literally with no other interpretation. That's the way I can be like, that could work in that works in a mysterious amount of ways, right?
Mhm.
The way based on kind of the accusations that he's been throwing around. But yeah, so Walked Up Merles is the opening track. I love it. That's the one that has the line that everybody's talking about with Lil Wayne,
Mhm.
where he says, I used to bump the Carter 3. I held my Rolly chain proud. Irony, I think my hard work let Lil Wayne down. And so that's the line everybody's like. Me personally, I didn't interpret it as a diss. But some people are like saying that it is. I'm like, no, it's obvious. I mean, this is literally everything that played out publicly. Like
Yeah.
Lil Wayne literally came out and publicly said that. Um
Right. Mhm.
and so
Mhm.
I personally don't. I think that's just laying down facts and is saying like, I'm sorry that my hard work let you down, but you know, it is what it is. I think it's just stating a matter of fact. That's me personally. So Whacked Out Merles, and then the other next one where he did a video with Squabble Up. I actually like that track. It's actually very.
Mhm. Mhm.
And then the track. It's so funny. I will say the full first half of this album up to track 7. Ooh, damn! All the way up to track 8.
Mhm.
I like a lot. And the good thing is, it kind of reminds me of old Kendrick in that it has something upbeat, it has something with a lot of deep messaging, and they also have a little bit of a little nice vibey R&B
Mhm.
song, which is Luther with SZA. So he's sampling
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
Luther song. He's like, if this world were mine. It's a very nice, smooth song.
Yeah.
And then he has like some really hard beats and hip hop and stuff like that. Like, okay, the one that I keep going back to that's very like you're gonna want to bump in your car is called TV Off, and it features Lefty Gunplay. And yeah, TV Off lyrically and the beat is crazy.
right?
Did you get a chance to listen to it?
I didn't get a chance to listen to the whole thing,
Hmm.
but the first few tracks I
Yeah, the
did get a
first
chance to
few.
listen to,
Yeah, the first few are
and
really like.
they
Mhm.
already have me in a chokehold. So I don't even know. Um, like Kendrick, like honestly, I listened to your song once, and it's like, okay, I have to listen to it at least another 2 3 times
Yeah, yeah.
because like the what like not that I don't catch it, I catch it, but it's like it leaves you into deep thought.
Hmm.
Like you listen to his lyrics and it leads you into deep thought. Like that's why I like him.
Hmm.
Honestly, it's not very surface level bubblegum rap.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's like deep thought type of he works into your conscious. Like what the hell? Like this man is talented beyond measure. Like he really is. Um now was he trying to I don't think he was trying to diss Lil Wayne.
No, just calling out a fact.
But I think the facts are the facts. And I think that Kendrick does not run from the facts. Like, he faces them dead on, you know? And I can appreciate that because it's kind of, that's real, you know? Like, he's not looking to into the sugarcoating shit. He's really about the truth. And um, the first few tracks, like, I'm telling you, I
Mm.
was just like, this man, Duckworth, I can't with you.
Mhm.
Whacked Out Morals was, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. I had to
Mhm.
listen to that a few times.
Yeah, there's a lot going on in that one, to be honest. Yeah.
And I do agree. Luther with SZA was
Mm.
nice.
Mhm.
It kind of changed up the flow, like the
Yeah,
flex a little bit,
it's a good little. It's good where that spot. It's in a good spot.
right? Like yeah.
Because the
But I
first two
haven't listened
tracks
to
go
the
in. The first two tracks are just like, whew.
right. It's like Jesus. Can I get through the first five? Like shit. Um, because that's how I was feeling. I was like, okay, I need to get through like the first five. Like I'm listening to this 2 3 times. Like, but that's what I like about Kendrick is that he brings me back to a point in hip hop. Uh, why I fell in love with hip hop. You
Yeah.
know, like he reminds me of why I fell in love with hip hop in the first place.
Mhm.
So yeah, I'm gonna listen to the rest, but like Kendrick is one of those rappers that you gotta listen a couple times, bro.
Mhm.
You will miss something,
You will. Oh, you're missing a lot. He's
right? Because
because
you
the
haven't thought about it like
no,
fully.
your first listen is just to take it in, right?
It should
So
just
you're
hear the beat. That's how I feel. Like I'm just hearing the beat at
I
this
want to
point,
hear the hooks, I want to hear the beats, and
right?
then everything else is then the second, third, fourth, whatever subsequent listening. Then you're kind of taking in the messages as they come in. He's very.
Exactly. And I'm hearing the double entendres, and I'm hearing the connections, and I'm hearing, you know, things that he's trying to say, and he's being very clever on how he says it.
Mhm.
And so I could see how maybe some people might think that he was insulting Lil Wayne.
I think it's the
Maybe
people who want there to be. Remember, there's always somebody
that's it. That's
who wants
it's
a
true.
drama.
The
But let's
people who
leave it
want the
alone.
drama,
We had enough drama. I think he said it as respectfully as he could. In
as he
that,
could, yes,
yeah,
and the fact that he mentioned it was nice, because he didn't really have to.
that's
You
true.
know, he didn't really have to. You're salty you didn't get the Super Bowl, okay? You know, like he could have just went on, but it was nice that he did address
He
it the way
acknowledged
that
it.
he did.
Yeah, he acknowledged it. Yeah.
You know, but
Yeah. So
overall, I'm gonna listen to the rest. Kendrick, listen, okay, you got me in a chokehold the first five. Like I can't even with you.
I'm gonna
Okay?
say TV off though. TV off is a standout for me outside of the opening tracks because the opening tracks always have to be strong. But TV off, is a really big one. I would suggest track 7. Okay, so I will say in terms of my love of Kendrick, it's not my favorite one because he's doing a style of rapping that's a little bit like I get it, but I mean he's been doing it a lot since the last year, especially since the beef started and a little bit on Mr. Morale, but that like this kind of like when you're somebody's clenching their teeth and talking,
Yeah.
or he's rapping, he's doing that a lot more on this, and I don't love it.
I
Like
think he's trying to change his flow.
yeah, and he's known for like having different flows, so it's not like he doesn't have one style of rapping, and he has in the last few albums been
Yeah.
changing it up and doing a lot of different things. So
Even
it was
within the album. Like,
exactly. And this, so I've heard the flow before and it wasn't like out of thing, but I just don't love it. That's the only
right.
thing.
No, I no,
Um
I hear you. I hear
yeah,
you on
but
that. Yeah.
because he kind of does this thing where he's clenching, he's like,
Right, I know. He's
but
not
it's fun.
pronunciating. He's not
Yeah, but
pronunciating.
he's still clear. So that's like, it's not like he's mumbling, but it's a different way of rapping that is not um just not my favorite. He's done it before and I don't mind it before, but when you do a whole album with that style,
Right?
that was my only little, I guess if I had to critique it, that's the one critique I have, and still it's it's an artistic choice. I mean, I still, as long as I understand you, that's the main thing. But yeah, so kudos to him on this release. He's getting a lot of
Mhm.
good buzz. I think it's fun because, you know, with him when he was still on the TDE label, we had to wait years for him to drop because that's how they do their artists on TDE. Everybody on that label, they usually make the artists wait so long in between releases, and we'd have to wait so long for a Kendrick, a SZA, a
Right?
Cool Boy Q, everybody under that camp. It's so now that he's kind of doing his own thing with his independent label, I love that we're getting more music from him.
Yes, me
Yeah.
too. Me too.
All right, so we're gonna
Yes.
move on from here.
Yes, we'll move on into the call out. Yes, we're going to put each other in the hot seat for a little second here. We're going to ask each other questions and we're going to answer them. And yeah, so for the call out, I just wanted to keep it a little, kind of
Mm,
basic and simple
yeah.
because the workout is going to be a workout for real because these people in these streets. But anyhow, my question to you is I have written down 5 questions, so I'm going to pick one.
Okay.
Um, if you were a pair of shoes, which one would you be? I'll answer mine. I think I would be some Air Force Ones
Why?
because they're reliable. They go with a lot of stuff. I've seen it dressed up and dressed down. I've seen and I'm sorry, a nice crisp pair of Air Force Ones can really make an outfit. It could really do an outfit. I think I'm classic with a twist, and Air Forces are kind of classic with a twist.
Mhm.
Also I feel like I'm Air Forces because there's so many different colors, there's so many different palettes, and it's so versatile, the shoe. And I feel like I'm kind of versatile in my personality. I kind of am able to be in different situations amongst different people and still,
Mhm.
either have a good time or have good conversation, or I'm versatile that way. So I'm gonna say I'm an Air Force One. Yeah.
Air
Mm-hmm.
Force One. Um, Interesting question. I guess what kind of shoe would I be? Hmm. Well, something's telling me, even though I am a sneaker girl, I am a sneaker girl. That I would probably, well, one thing it will be is classic. Well, like one of the
Right.
classic silhouettes and the classic shoes. So what the three things that are popping into my mind are a nice Air Max,
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
or another classic is a pair of Doc Martens.
Okay.
And
Okay.
The Doc Martens again, so it's a classical boot.
Yeah.
But this,
Yeah.
it comes down to, but what is the traits of this boot? It's they last long, they're sturdy.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're sturdy, they're fashionable. You can wear them in with almost anything. Um and I actually was asking my AI thing, what is it, what when you're talking, what is a shoe that would best describe a Taurus? And in the top, the first number one question Sorry, the number one response was heavy duty work boots. So
There you
it
go.
was actually in the description, and that just comes down to the sturdiness, and that comes down to the shoe. But yeah, I
Reliable. They're reliable
reliable, yeah,
shoes.
reliable, yeah. So I think I would, even though I am a sneaker girl, I would go with the Doc Martens.
Okay. Okay. All right. Yep. I to be honest, I was tossed between Jordans, Air Force Ones, and Doc Martens. But I did not say Doc Martens because I was like, I'm more of a running shoe type of girl.
You want to go with what you know you, yeah. I mean, it's true. I am a more of a running shoe, but if I want to be honest about what the shoe represents about me, I have to,
That's true.
be a boot.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But what?
No,
Okay, how
that's why it
would
was
you?
on my
I'm
short
curious.
list. That's why it
I'm
was on my
curious.
short list.
I'm curious. Okay, how would you describe the Jordan being a part of your personality now?
Um, well, okay, so when I look at Jordans, I see them as being versatile.
Mm-hmm.
I see them as also being very popular.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and when I say popular, not that I'm specifically that I'm popular, but that a lot of people tend to gravitate to me,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't always know why.
Mm-hmm.
So, um, also the classiness of the shoe. Um, you can take an Air Jordan, and I've seen it done where you have on a nice little dress
Mm-hmm.
and some Jordans. I was like, okay, I can see the versatility. I like it. I like it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but that's why I didn't have enough of myself in that shoe, so I didn't go that direction.
Okay, I was just curious. Okay,
But yeah, so yeah, but anyhow, that was my question.
I was thinking something that you can add that I thought you were going to say, but I'll say it for you. Is, they're collectible, they're worthy, they appreciate with value as they get
That's
older.
true.
They're sometimes one of a kind.
All right, girl. All right, girl. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so all right, my question was, okay, so I didn't acknowledge this, but it's Black Friday, or just the day after Black
Mm-hmm.
Friday. So happy American Thanksgiving to those who celebrated it this week. I forgot to mention that in the opening of the episode, but to our
Yes,
American
yes,
listeners, we know you're out there. I hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving.
yes. Getting your turkey and everything in. Yes.
So now we just had Black Friday, y'all doing your shopping and all that stuff. We're doing it over here too. So it's Black Friday. So I was going to ask you, when we have things like Black Friday, or are also a Canadian equivalent, which is the day after Christmas, Boxing Day, what's the thing that you want to, what's the sale you want to check out first, whether it's a store or a type of product? Like, what's your go to when you know there's going to be a big sale happening that you're like, okay,
Electronics.
electronics?
All the way.
You're
All the way. I will be that person to go stand up in the line for a TV. You hear me?
one of
Because
those?
I no, I'm gonna keep it a buck. Like no electronics, a
Mhm,
100%. Because I feel like everything else I kind of get over the year.
mhm.
Like I'm not missing.
Yeah.
But when you have an opportunity of buying like a flat screen TV that would naturally be almost $1,000 for
Mhm,
half the price,
mhm,
or a laptop, or girl, electronics, 100%. And to be quite honest, like they're of the most value out there. Like outside of clothes,
mhm,
right? The next in line for me of value would be electronics.
mhm.
So, because I like me some gadgets.
You know what's so funny is that if you were to ask me that a different time, I would say the same thing. But it's so funny that has not been what everybody at work was talking about, shopping and stuff on Thursday and Friday, and I was like, you know, damn, I don't have any. Usually it would be electronics, but electronics didn't even pop in my head. So, well, for me, I think I'll just be honest, my go to, I think, like electronics is a good choice, but I think my go to is right now is usually like apparel. So, like a jacket,
Yeah,
because,
yeah,
a good winter jacket, a nice stylish jacket is, we're in
yeah.
Canada. It's
Yeah,
prime jacket season, and so it's prime jacket prices. So
right.
right now I'm always trying to find a good sale on a nice jacket.
Yeah.
Um and yeah, I'm trying to stay away from the clothes. Like now clothes, I'm like, to your point, it's like clothes are always going on sale. Like, you know what I mean?
But that's the thing. And it's like, if you really like clothes, right? You know how to shop for them, and you
Yeah.
know that when a season is left or is about to
Yeah,
come,
that's you're gonna
that's
get
the
your
best time to buy.
hmm
You know, when a season is coming or going is the best time to buy, not when it's here.
But I was gonna say, so you said electronics. I was gonna actually say like furniture. That's another
That
big one.
yeah, yeah,
Like so like
yeah.
if you've been wanting to change your coffee table or get some new chairs or something, this is like that's another thing. I kind of like would go to my way to be like, okay, fine, I don't really want to do any shopping, but there's, you actually will get a real deal with furniture and electronics at these peak sale
Right?
seasons.
Well, I know we
Okay.
have another segment, but I want to elaborate on your question with the Black Friday.
hmm
Do you think Black Friday is the same
It's same as in like
as
how it
when
was
it
like
first started?
in Canada or in the US.
Period.
Personally, for me, because we're in Canada, um, and then we have to factor in, I think it's really for me a really recent thing in the last 6 years or so that Black Friday is actually a thing. Before it was just something we saw in the news from the US because that's a big shopping day. So you're going to see we're going to see the videos of people at Walmart in Buffalo or wherever in the US kind of clamoring to get their sales. But here in Canada, I don't think it's gotten bigger. Let me put it that way. It's something that's gradually getting bigger here. That's all I could say about it, to be honest. I don't know the same, but to me I feel like it's, if anything, it's getting bigger in our market.
Well, from when it first came, like it's always been a thing in the States because of when
Exactly.
they have their Thanksgiving and stuff.
Yes.
And I understand, but when we started to adopt that was a good, at least a decade ago, at least 10 years ago.
hmm hmm
And when we started it here, I was like, yes, another day where we can save a little change because we only had Boxing Day really to look forward to in terms of slash prices. So when we adopted the Black Friday thing at the beginning, I felt like it was a big thing here. Like everywhere you turn, there was Black Friday talks, and there were people who would take off work to catch up with Black Friday.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? So, but now I'm noticing it's the Cyber Monday. It's not even necessarily the Black Friday. People are, when I hear of people talking about the Black Friday, they're like, nah, man, I'm going to wait for Cyber Monday. Because that's when everything online is like discounted. Doesn't
hmm
matter where you go, right? So I've just noticed that from when we started to adopt it from the States till now, I don't think that Canadians really uh we don't really keep it a high priority, I guess. It's like, okay, well, I'm gonna get the deals, but I want to get in the comfort of my home.
And you know what the factory though I think is that, because that kind of happened in between the last decade that you said that it's been a thing here, is COVID. So
Well, that's the thing.
COVID changed our shopping behavior in
Yeah,
general.
yeah,
So everybody's like was in our office, and it was so funny. You could walk by people's desks and they're all doing their online shopping. After
right,
Thursday when I was Thursday Friday when I was in the office Thursday, like everybody was just sharing their deals. Like that's like,
right,
so it's online. Like there's rare, like you don't want to go to the mall. Even I went to the mall Thursday to return something, Eaton Center, and it was busy. Well, that mall's always kind of busy, but it was still not as busy as. Do you remember when we were teenagers, or even in our mid 20s?
yeah,
Boxing Day. So Boxing Day is our real equivalent to Black Friday in the
yeah,
US, like in terms of how people the frenzy that's really into it.
yeah.
So it was the day after Christmas is when we get all the most aggressive sales and deals and stuff like that. And the mall would be like, you'd be like, listen, I need to either get there at 10 at night when the mall
Right?
open.
I'm going to bed early. I'm sorry. Christmas? I'm like, yeah, I need to get up for Boxing Day. Like,
Yeah, you're either gonna go early or you're gonna go when the mall's closing. But you're not. Well, at least me. Like I was not gonna go peek. You couldn't get
No.
any parking. It's hot as shit.
Right?
And it's cold, so you do need to wear a jacket. You're like cooking, you can't walk anywhere. You have to line up. The thing that I can't
Right?
stand, the lineup is where I drew the line. I'm like, I am not lining up to spend my money. I'm not lining up to spend my money. So I
Right?
would normally try to go as early as possible, so somewhere between 10 and 11 when the mall first opens,
Right?
and
Yeah.
people are still lazy on Boxing Day and stuff like that. I mean, I'm sure there's people, but the electronic stores were the places where it got really wild. But
Yeah.
anyway, yeah, we
Yeah.
got carried away. But yeah, I was curious. Black
Yeah.
Friday, big
Yeah.
shopping scene. So
Yeah. Well, you know what? Okay, well, that's that. So we will move on into the workout at this point.
the workout.
Yes, the workout. This is where we are working out our hearts and exercising our mental fitness. We're going to do a deep dive discussion on the topic Drake and his lawsuit against UMG. I am not happy with Drake right now. I'm
Mhm.
not. I think he's salty, and there's so much to be said about this situation. But I'll be honest with you, I'm kind of disappointed in Drake. I am because of the way that it fell, the way that this is all happening. So, I mean, if you live under a rock, let me bring you to the light. For the last 6 months or so, we can't you can't turn on a radio or a TV, okay, or a streaming or a podcast, and you don't hear the song "Not Like Us" by Kendrick Lamar. Now we know Kendrick came out fast and fierce. You understand? He came out to destroy Drake's career. And now Drake is suing everybody and their mother. Not specifically Kendrick, but Kendrick and Drake are under the same label. So, which is Universal. I forget the acronym, what it stands for. It's
Universal
Universal
Music Group.
Music Group. Okay, so they are both under Universal Music Group.
Yeah.
And Drake's lawsuit against them is pretty much I'm going to keep it basic here because we want to look at this from many different aspects. And so his lawsuit is basically it's not even quite a lawsuit yet. Let's just call
No,
it
you're
what it
right. You're
is.
right. It's a pre. Yeah,
It's
you're
a
right.
it's a petition to the
Hmm.
court. And so when you're petitioning the court, what he's asking for is that Universal open up all of their books,
Hmm.
open up all their business, and give it to him because he wants to put together a discovery of information, which will then lead to a lawsuit against them. And in his petition, he is basically asking Universal to give him what he believes he is owed off of the success of Kendrick Lamar's song. Okay? He believes that they pumped up the song to be bigger than what it is, right? And that they kind of used promotion and by way of bots, to pump up and inflate the success of this song, which in turn has had a negative effect on Drake's career, which he is on the same label.
Hmm.
So, all right, now Drake. Lord Jesus, Drake. This is what you come back for do? Really? So Drake petitioning is causing an uproar, in the hip hop community and like to be quite honest, the music industry at this point. So Drake, I don't know why he went this route. I don't know why he decided that he's gonna do this. Usually, when people of his stature decide to go this route, it's because the money ain't money in. The money is not
It
mathing.
all comes down to money. Yeah.
It's all about the money, okay? And I feel like this is my opinion. I feel like Drake, His career is done, and he's going to take the music industry with him. So let's open up the floor on thoughts about Mr. Drake and his lawsuit petition or petition to eventually have a lawsuit
Mhm.
against Universal Music Group.
Um, so I think that, yeah, I, like you, am not a fan of him doing this, but I think if we look deeper, it's like, yeah, it's a deeper thing. If we go past the music now,
Yeah,
like to your point, damage is done. The damage from the beef is done. That's done.
yeah,
That's a new that we moved on from that. We already
yeah.
know what that was.
Well, we moved on, but
Okay, true.
Drake, I
You're a
don't
good
know. I
point.
don't
You're
Drake. I don't know, but
right. But
yeah,
I think that so we need to get down into the nitty gritty and into that, like you said, the falsely he's accusing them of falsely inflating the streams using bots and other tactics to boost the song's popularity on streaming platforms like Spotify, paid for radio played, funneled payments to Radio to promote the song on the radio. And then the second one, which is a big one. So the first one, I'm not mad at. I'm actually like, fine, because this could be a crown and glory. Like if he proves the first one, that petition, which
yeah,
is the petition about the payola and the inflated streams, he is like, when you somebody there's winning the war and there's winning the battle. So
yeah,
he's not winning a battle against Kendrick. He's winning a battle against the music industry as a whole. Like
yeah.
to your point, right? And that could be a whole different crown and glory. The second one now is kind of where it's really bitch made for me. And I'm gonna have to say, hurts to say it, but it's true. Is the content, which was the fact that in this one of the some of the songs that Kendrick released in this beef was accusing him of being with a pedophile or dealing with underage people and stuff like that. So failed to act on a harmful content.
Right,
Did not take the steps to remove or edit the false and defamatory lyrics.
right.
Now, in a beef, we know in a beef everything is fair game because we've seen Drake accused him of beating his woman
Yeah,
in, I think, one of those songs in the beef, right? So, but here's where the legal thing comes in, because most of the time when you see a rap beef, 9 times out of 10, most of the times, if we could ever think of the ones that we're thinking of, they're always on artists on different labels. So
right.
now this is a case where they're under the same label, and so as bitch, it is bitch made. I still think it's bitch made. There is, and I'm sure the lawyers wouldn't have petitioned if there wasn't any viability in it, but there is something to that. But again, it's bitch made. I'm not excusing it. I still think it's bad enough he's doing a lawsuit, but this is the one he could have left out. The first one I get, because in his argument is that by them bolstering up Kendrick in this beef with the inflated streams and payola, they're diminishing his value. And he was their biggest asset. Like, make it no mistake. In 2022, Universal Music Group made a deal reportedly worth 400 million. And there's a few songs where Drake references that 400 million. It was reported, but he said it
Hmm.
himself. The man made a $400 million deal in 2022
Right.
around that time.
But the problem with that, though, Jeanette, is you can't reap from something and then have a problem with it when you don't get to reap. So when you like, okay, Drake was for the last decade, okay? No, no, no. For the last 5 years, you couldn't turn on a radio without
Mhm.
hearing Drake.
Yeah, sure.
Okay? You couldn't go anywhere without you couldn't go to the store without hearing a Drake song. You couldn't turn on the TV without hearing a song. You could so it was good for him when it was happening, but now that it's not happening and you want to be a sore loser, that's when you want to expose. So miss me with the bullshit on that, Drake, because you were doing it. How about all those other artists that weren't being pushed the way you were being pushed? And there's something to be said about how the hell you know all this, Drake. How you know they're using
Of course,
bots?
you know they do it. Every big artist they do it for. So
Okay,
so
so
I
if
have
you're
a
allowing them to do it for you, then what's the problem?
so there's this tweet that controversial DJ Funk Master Flex came out and said, which we all knew. Again,
Yeah.
personally, we all know that there's payola. We all know that the big artist labels play for streams. It's all a part of the business, right? But so Funk Master Flex put numbers behind it. So we know what happens, but we don't know we didn't know how much it actually the actual
Mhm.
cost. So he came out and said Drake is 100% right. National play per song. All your
Mhm.
um mm, Drake is 100% right. National play per song. Drake doesn't pay money for play. Pop charts radio is 350K. Urban radio 250K. Mix a music mix show 100K. Local mix show director 40K. Local DJs are getting 3,000 to 500K per song. So you see when we saw these videos where they're bumping a particular song, let's say in this example, Not Like Us, 5K per song for that DJ. This is why independent artists don't rise to the top. That's what he's saying. But again, this is something that even a rapper, that white rapper named Russ, broke
I
it
love
down.
him, by the way. You
Yeah.
should really listen to his music. He's sick.
I know of his I always give his albums a listen. I have some issues with him. I like him, but one thing I can give him is that him exposing the music industry
He's
and kind
been
of
saying this.
and trying to help like independent artists kind of find their way. So he even broke down the whole streaming thing too, how it works and how they try to cover it up in terms of like they're not going to put payola on an artist that's not already kind of having a little bit of buzz because then it wouldn't be believable. So but
And
anyway,
it's easier to inflate. If you
it's
have 500 million, like
yeah,
he said, if you have
yeah.
500 million streams already, nobody is going to say, oh, it's supposed to be 5, not 9.
Yes,
Nobody's
exactly.
going to care,
So
right?
he,
So,
he he did an interview on the Breakfast Club
yeah,
and he's broken it down on like a bunch of other podcasts so you
yeah.
guys can look it up. But um we kind of already kind of got a behind the scenes look on that. So actually back to the lawsuit and why I think this is a problem. Here's the only way Drake, again, I think the first law I don't like the idea that he did this lawsuit, but I think if his battle is with the industry because they're trying to play with his money, hey, there's one thing we're not going to do is play with the money. Money can't be funny. So
That's the
I
only
think
reason why he's doing this is because his money is funny.
so it's get it. So we're that's where we are with the first lawsuit. So again, I can give him that. The second one, I'm like, ugh, okay, everybody roasting you about these lawsuits and calling you a Karen. It's like, okay, well now I can't. I can't defend you because it's like, yeah, it's like it is what it is. But if he went, here's the thing: if he listen, Drake is down bad right now. We can
Down
say that.
bad. Down bad.
But if he can slay the dragon that is the music industry, whether he benefited or not before, whoo,
But that's the thing is that you can't slay what you want to be a part of. He, it doesn't work.
it can. At this point, he doesn't have a
Well,
choice.
that's why I said to you his career's done.
He doesn't have a choice but to do this.
Okay? So that's why I said his career is done. Because if you decide to slay this dragon, nobody is going to mess with you again.
And in the label world, but we've been
No,
trying to.
no, generally speaking. Because you need to come, okay, you, you can't have a battle and then act like a sore loser.
But
Because
but he's not technically though. I get what you're saying, but technically, even though by way of this action he might be affecting something with Kendrick, he's not like the lawsuit isn't with Kendrick, but that's how
but this is
everybody's.
the response to Kendrick.
Yeah,
That's what
yeah,
the world's going to see.
yeah. That's what they are seeing. You're right.
Right?
Yeah.
So, in terms of him slaying the dragon of the music industry, you can't slay something you still want to be a part of. So, unless you're going to go into acting, how are you going to remain in the business?
I think
Nobody's going to want to fuck with you. Sorry,
there's
nobody's going to want to fuck with you because there's going to be a constant worry that when things don't go the way you want them to go, you, you're going to be pulling out your lawsuits.
I don't see it that way. I think if he slays this dragon, this is the dragon of the whole music industry, and exposing kind of how they do things. And even though he benefited from it, there's no doubt that he benefited from it.
And
He
for
does
years at that.
for years, but he doesn't need that. So if he slays this battle and proves this, then it's like he's breaking a system that's been screwing over every kind of artist anyway. So it's kind of like you could be a hero to the artist, right? So there's a way for him to come out on top with the first one. There is a slim, chances are slim, but there's a way. There's a way to come out the hero. The
And
second.
I still don't even see how that's possible, Jeanette. Sorry to interrupt, but
Mm,
how do you take a part of it, reap from it? Like the only reason why you're doing this is because the money is not moneying. So if
mhm,
the money kept moneying, you would go along with the industry because
mhm.
it was successful for you. So now that it's not successful for you, oh, you want to take it down? Well, there's still people that are in the industry. There's still people who are in the music industry. So while you're trying to tear down that same music industry that feeds other artists,
Not the music industry, break the power that the label has.
right, right. Now the power of the label, I could agree. Yes, that needs to be destroyed, right? But I think it's going to be very hard for him going forward.
Yeah,
You
don't get me
know,
wrong. I acknowledge it's hypocritical, but
very,
all
very.
I'm saying as somebody who knows PR and spin, there's a way. It's a slim chance,
Yeah,
but there's a
yeah.
way.
You could
That's
always
all.
spin
But
anything.
you're
I mean,
saying it's hypocritical. It's all of the things that you're saying. I agree, but there is a way. I see a way for him to come out, if not on top, but definitely not on top the way things are right now. But at least come out where
people don't
this.
hate him.
Exactly, and like right
Okay,
now, like the backlash that he's getting right now, looking bitch made and looking like a Karen and everything in between, can be redeemed. That's all I'm saying. He can't maybe fully come back out on top and be the amazing person he was before everything, but the backlash that he's getting for the fact that he's doing the lawsuit can kind of come back around and make sense. There's a way, but there's a slim, very very sliver of a chance. That's all I'm
yeah,
saying.
and in order for what you're saying to work,
Mhm.
Drake needs to shut the hell up. Stop going onto these gaming platforms and saying how hip hop is funny and hip hop is weird yeah, you need to shut the hell up then. Because if that's going to work, which I can see the chance of it working, maybe 25% chance of working,
Very slim, yeah.
very very slim. He needs to shut the hell up about the industry.
Yeah, he needs to be quiet. Like what the fact that you did the lawsuit is like it's bad. Like you already look funny and shaky right now, right? So it's like be quiet, just be quiet. And since you decided to take this legal, to
Right?
deal with it legally. When people are in a lawsuit and legal things are going on, they're not. You if you even if you see them, you're not hearing anything from them.
At least you shouldn't.
We shouldn't hear from much from you if this is the route that you're going to take, right? Because this is big. You're not taking, and then this is something I want to share because remember, think of the big greats, the greats, because Drake is a great.
Yeah.
He took a big tumble this year, but at the end of the day, you can't take away what he's already achieved, right?
Yeah, I'll give him that.
Think of the greats that have gone against labels. Forget about this beef now. We left beef, individual
Right?
beef. We left individual beef already now. The man is going up against a massive international global entertainment company. Okay? Um
Prince
think of
didn't do it.
yeah, see? No, think I was just that's where I was going with this. Who are the big artists? Big
Michael Jackson didn't do it.
Remember? But those are the two names I was so those are two people who decided to speak up and speak about how the labels screw over their artists. And where are they right now? What did they try to do to them?
Okay.
They had
Mariah Carey? before
right?
before they she had that
The breakdown, yeah, we know, yeah.
breakdown, right? Right? Okay. Mariah tried,
Yeah.
right?
So this is more than just music and even money now. This could be life or death. Because not to take it like thing, but we have to be honest. Like these are, if we really look at the history of the people who really challenge the record label,
Yeah.
and they're only going to be threatened by the big money makers who
Oh,
do
Whitney
this.
Houston, before she turned into a crackhead. Sorry. I love Whitney, but it's true. She
Hmm.
tried to leak a lot of things that were happening in the music industry, and then shortly after, she really got hooked on drugs. She tried. It was before she met Bobby.
Hmm.
Just before, I remember because I was like, I was hoping that nothing would happen to her. But anyhow, no,
Hmm.
it's true what you're saying, Jeanette. If he tries to take down this music label,
And he already kind of started the fire, because this is like, of course, this is like on this is on every bloody publication and every website right now.
everywhere.
So, and it doesn't matter, and it's because it's him. It's not like he's small enough for people are going to care. So that's why, that's another thing that we're not hearing a lot of, but I think we need to put in this conversation. And that another thing that can go wrong in when we see artists of this caliber trying to go up against a label like this, it's getting past even beef and trying to put down a song or whatever. It's now like your life is
Yeah,
in danger.
you literally put a target on your back.
Yeah, there you go.
You
There you go.
literally put a target
There
on your
is
back.
now a big target, and the targets were before were coming from rappers, other people in his, colleagues in the industry.
Mm-hmm.
No, now we're talking about the big dogs. Now we're going
Right?
into the real big dogs. Sorry, y'all are great and you're wonderful and you're talented and you're doing amazing things. We're talking about the big dogs.
Yeah, because the big dogs actually run the industry.
That's all we're saying. That's all I'm
And you're
saying.
just a
That's
pawn in their
all I'm
game.
that's all I'm saying.
So Drake, I mean, here's what Drake. I'm disappointed that you decided to go this route at this time.
Yeah.
I think
Well,
the timing was horrible because, in terms of public opinion, they're gonna look at it like you are a sore loser. I've heard so many people call out, "Oh, this stupid Canadian rapper, he don't even know about hip hop. Oh, he Canadian." Now you putting us Canadians, the actual ones that are real about hip hop, you put us in a bag that I don't want to be in. Okay, my friend. I don't like how everybody is talking about hip because Canadian this and that. Listen, hip hop was influential worldwide.
worldwide, yeah.
Okay, so I don't know why all of a sudden now Canadians don't know nothing about rap because of Drake. No, Drake is just salty. The money ain't money.
Mm.
I think this is my own personal feeling on this. Drake is a bit of a narcissist. Okay, he thought that he was so big that all of what Kendrick did, his song, was just gonna breeze on by. That's why I thought, after Kendrick made the song and it came out and it was getting such play,
Hmm.
how you see how Drake responded shows you that he didn't think this was going to be this big.
Hmm.
He thought this was going to blow over as a little rap beef and in a couple weeks it would. No, he didn't think this is going to be performed at the Super Bowl. He didn't think that every publication is going to be playing this song. He didn't think that it was going to go this far. And now it's gone this far to the point where it's affecting his money. And one thing I know about superstars in whatever industry, they don't bark unless the money is affected. And I think his money is affected. And
Hmm.
I think his legitimacy in rap is affected, in hip hop is affected.
Yeah.
And he, It's like I didn't work this hard for you to take away everything from me, with this one song.
Hmm.
We just talked about this. The man got nominated how many times for a Grammy?
Okay, I have to. Yeah, you're right. About I think around seven, seven.
So when this song hit back in the summer, I really think that Drake had, his ego is so inflated that he thought this too shall pass.
Hmm.
But he didn't understand, uh it ain't going nowhere, fam. He's getting Grammy nominations for this shit.
Well, to that point, so that's again where that first the first lawsuit that he has there about the payola. Again, yes, even though he would get he is guilty of benefiting out of that the
Yeah,
payola thing. It still takes away, so at least it chips away at some of the credibility, because I didn't mention this and we didn't have to, but why Kendrick kind of has an edge outside of like the obvious things in this whole let's say battle. And as an artist, he's always had a level of authenticity,
yep,
right? He's known for
100%.
we talked about telling the truth,
Yeah,
talking about like socioeconomic things and the industry and everything in between, right? But he always had authenticity in his corner, and that's kind of, and humbleness and all of that, and
yeah.
that's kind of been like his thing. So if it comes out now, if they open the books and we see that
Okay.
the success of this particular song, like you said, yes, there's a many reasons, and yes, one of those reasons is him trying to shut down this song being
Yeah,
um played at the Super Bowl.
100%.
I don't
Yeah,
doubt that, but at least if you could chip away of the overwhelming success of it and at least prove that some of it was inauthentic, there's a
right.
little bit of, again, he's still lost and he's still his reputation is shot to shit,
Yep.
but he does put a dent in Kendrick's kind of situation. It's a dent.
Well, from what I'm seeing, I feel like it's just the opposite. I feel like one thing I'll say about American people, okay, is there might be a lot of divide, but when it comes against the world, they're American and they stand with Americans,
Mhm,
and nothing will shake that American pride. Nothing at
mhm,
all.
mhm.
So the fact that they're throwing in, oh well, he's a Canadian artist, shows that American people are going to side with Kendrick no matter what.
Yeah.
Because it's a personal, it's like it's boiled down to a lot of people
Mhm.
as a personal attack against American hip hop,
I get it. I get it.
right? And so Ken Drake doing this, it doesn't matter how Kendrick looks.
Mhm.
People are going to ride with him just because he's American.
What do you think of that clip I sent to you of Charlemagne the God? If you got a chance to see
Charlemagne called this shit out a long time ago, okay? Listen, I
it.
don't listen to a lot of what Charlemagne says
I know you
because
can't.
I
You
have
can't.
my own little personal thing with him.
Mm.
He should have got Donkey of the Day many a times, but anyhow, he was right. He called this shit out long time ago.
We're talking about a clip of his podcast with the Brilliant Idiots, where I think Andrew asks him, "Oh, what do you think Drake's move's gonna be?" And this was in the heat of the
Yep,
battle. And Charlemagne, I thought at the time, seemed like he was just throwing something out there, saying that, "Oh, Drake's gonna sue or do some legal shit." And lo and behold, 6 months later,
yep. He
yeah,
knows. He knows. He knows because a lot of people have said, Drake. He's very petty.
yes, he's a petty king. He
He's a
said it
he,
himself.
he said he called himself the petty king. Okay, you don't give yourself that title unless you really are a petty ass motherfucker. And he's petty, and this is
Mhm.
petty.
Yeah, he's proven it many, many times.
This is
Yeah.
petty because of when, and that's why I said earlier, it's when. He shouldn't have done this right now. If you want to take down the music industry, go ahead. But you're taking down the music industry based off of the diss track. That's what this is. You got dissed. You didn't think it was going to be around this long. You
Mm.
didn't think it was going to have this much success. You didn't think it was going to affect you. Okay, this is the narcissism coming in. He didn't think it was going to affect him that much, and it has.
Mhm.
And now the money ain't money in, okay? So he's going to attack whoever the hell he can attack. Yet you were a part of that same, what you're trying to take down, you were benefiting from just a few months ago and had no problem. You didn't want to take them down 6 months ago. But all of a sudden, when you are the lesser artist, because imagine all these artists who are putting out music, right? And Drake is taking over the airway. You couldn't move without hearing a Drake song. So imagine all those artists before that had to stand by while you were being pumped and you were the guy and you were the one that was making all this money. Now all of a sudden, you're not that guy, and now we want to take down the music industry, and your whole premise of taking them down is based off of Kendrick's song. If that's not petty king, I don't know what is. I mean, shit. And now you have to be Canadian at that. Okay, so it's like it's a really sad uh, direction for Drake to have taken, but
Yeah.
I think he's done with the music industry.
We'll see. We'll see.
I
I
know I
think
was saying to you, I think his career is finished.
I'm not ready to say that yet, but
Yep,
I
I
that's
know.
fair.
That's okay. That's okay. I'm gonna say it for you. Uh, it's a dunce. It's a raps. Okay. Even he doesn't seem interested in rap anymore. You know, you don't go onto a very popular gamer. I forget the guy's name, blonde haired guy, and say that hip hop, the same hip hop that you came in this game praising. Oh, hip hop funny now. Why? Because you're the focus of the funny? Really? So I think his career is not going to go in a good. If it doesn't end, okay, it's going to fizzle out. Okay, it's going to fizzle right out because at this point, Drake, you're not looking good, bro. And in the terms of in terms of public opinion, you're looking kind of soft. So I don't know what album you're gonna come out rapping about. You have gats and guns and you're ready to use them. Okay, because people are gonna expect that from here on in you're gonna sue anybody you don't like. So I don't know. It just doesn't look good. It doesn't look good. It doesn't look good at all. At all. At all. At all. At all. But you know what, Drake? You just made a deal the other day for 400 million. Okay, I would. He even said himself that he wanted to retire for a little while from music
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
just a few years ago. To be honest, I kind of thought at the beginning of all this lawsuit thing, I thought, oh, this is his exit. He said he wanted to retire. So this is the exit. This is the ta-da, you know, the last woo-ha of his career. So I do think that, this is a career suicide. I think it is. Um, I didn't know that Drake was this damn petty. Okay, but you do take the crown. You take the crown, my friend. And Kendrick, I don't think this is gonna phase him. If anything, it's gonna make him more popular. If
Hmm.
anything, people are gonna be looking out for him now more than they were before.
Hmm.
I know I can't wait to see him at the Super Bowl.
I can't wait. It's gonna be an amazing
It's
show.
gonna be tight. Okay, and I do see him. I don't think he's petty, but Not Like Us will be played. It will be played at the Super Bowl, so it's gonna be interesting
Yeah,
how this all pans out.
he has to get ready for that. Like Drake needs to just mentally prepare himself for
And,
that.
and I really don't think he thought that it was gonna go this far.
I think you're right. I think he didn't think it was gonna like every other beef. Everybody, there's excitement, there's talking, but after a month or two, kind of, Yeah, this thing just kept growing. So I get you. Yeah,
right?
totally.
And I think at the beginning, you remember when it just lick, Drake was trying to like pass it off like, yeah, huh.
Let me tell you when Drake started shitting bricks.
Okay, because the
When they
bricks did shit. Let me tell you.
when they
Mhm.
announced Kendrick as the Super Bowl halftime performance,
That's when he had it. He was
that's when
like,
his belly dropped out. Okay.
he's like, okay, no, we need to come up with a strategy. We need a strategy. You
Yeah.
know, yeah, I think he really did start shitting bricks. I think a lot of people did, to be
You're
honest.
that's true, right?
A lot of people did, you know. But overall, I think you're gonna be okay, Drake. Like,
Mhm.
come on, you're gonna be okay. At the end of the day, Drake has made his mark on the music
Yeah, you
industry
can't
and
take
hip
that
hop.
away from him. You can't
You
like
know,
Drake
I'm
owned
just
hip.
not going to. I'm not going to take away the
Mhm,
work that he did do while he was
mhm,
here
mhm.
in the music industry. I know I'm saying like past tense as though he's left,
Yep.
um, because he kind of has, and like I know if you were to drop an album anytime soon, nobody's going to be checking for it. So right, Drake's going to be all right. He'll be all
He's gonna
right.
be. I think he'll be all right.
And
I
I
think
am
this.
interested to see if he does take down this label.
Yes, that would be a life changing. Like, listen, you already conquered music. Okay, we could say Drake effectively
Right?
conquered music for like 10 years. Him and Nicki came in around the same time, so
Mm-hmm.
call it 10, 15 years now. So then now, what do? You go past music. You go face the real giants.
Right?
People need to remember there are real people who, not real people, but there's real power that's really pulling the strings and deciding. Remember, we talk about industry plants.
That's right.
So we you want to know the people who are putting out the plants. That's what we're up against here.
And so if he does exit music and he takes down this label, maybe activism is the way to go, Drake. Maybe you need to, expose more and more of the music industry. But understand that with that, yeah, comes death threats.
We talked about it.
Okay, because I don't know. We just mentioned how many people who tried and they're 6 feet under. Okay, so mind how you try. Listen. Mind what y'all do, Drake, because I think that you don't understand how big this is. I think you have an idea, but this is a big deal. So just tread lightly. That's all I gotta tell you, Drake. But you gonna be okay with your 400 mil. You gonna be all right. It's us little guys out here who who's trying to make the life be what it is. Um, and I hope that he focuses more on taking the label down and less on Kendrick, because it does look kind of petty from that respect.
Yeah.
And Kendrick kind of ruined your career. But anyhow, we're gonna move on, and we're gonna say good night to all y'all. We're gonna say that we hope that your hearts and your minds were activated on this week's show. So whether you lead with your heart or your mind, please stay passionate and thoughtful, and we'll talk to you real soon. Bye.
Bye.